Hello, Yvonne. Wow, it is awesome to connect with you at this Understanding Money conference. And, I was starting to get a little distressed thinking, whoa, she's not going to be here. But thank you for availing yourself and, showing what it can be like to be flexible to the seasons and the times. And we're so privileged to have you at this conference. So, for those who've just seen your bio on my intro, can you tell us who is Yvonne? Who are you?
Oh my God, that's such a broad question. So I'll start off by saying, first and foremost, I'm a product of faith. I say that all the time. I'm a product of faith and I'm a product of grace. I believe in God fully, and I've seen Him do some amazing things in my life and in the lives of others. Some known to me, some not known to me. And I believe that that same grace that's extended on others is available to me too. So I move and I operate on that vibration. I'm very, very conscious that, we have a window of opportunity in this game of life, in this thing called life. And so that's kind of how I do life. Yvonne is a lover of life. She loves hard. She's committed to pursuit of all things uh, that result in some level of impact. And man, life is not a rehearsal, my guy. We're here. This is it. Yeah. And yeah, this is it. I just one step at a time, every day at a time. Sometimes I even like, whew, really?
Hmm.
But yeah. I'm a lot of things. I wear many hats, but I think if you were to ask me to summarize it, it would just be that a product of grace and a product of faith.
That is amazing, and the theme this year of Understanding Money Conference is accessing your wealthy place. And I specifically thought about you because I've watched you transform, metamorphosize, shift gears, reinvent yourself. And you've actually written a book called Reinventing. Reinventing yourself. Isn't
Yeah,
it called Reinventing?
yeah.
What is it called?
It was reinvented,
Reinventing.
challenging insecurities to live authentically through faith. So
Sure.
the sub the subheader is kind of lengthy, but really that's really a story of my life. I think like most women that are born and raised in the African constructs, there's always something that we're battling. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not enough. Yeah. And so having to kind of shift and adjust that narrative as it relates to my life in various intervals, growing up and being born and raised in Harare, leaving home at age 17, 18 for the US, the culture shock. I talk about my story so openly, and that's what my first reinvented piece was about, really my learnings from doing life as a young foreigner living in America and then coming back to Sim and not knowing where I fit in, and then getting married, becoming a mom immediately thereafter, and just getting lost in all of it. So my journey has really been about, it literally is that. It's every day I say to myself, okay, so what are we going to do different today? What are we going to do better today?
Mm.
And then I think those small steps become incremental steps to something bigger and more meaningful to me. So I'm able to sort of journey back and to have pivotal moments where I'm like, yeah, man, ish, that time was really hectic,
Mm.
but we're here now. And so it wasn't in vain that I went through those pain points. It was part of the process,
Mm.
part of the
And
process.
I absolutely love that. It just brings me to that scripture that says God's mercies are new every morning. And we are finding ourselves all over the world. If you speak to family in
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Malawi, everyone is saying, whoa, my bill has gone up. Like it was £100 for gas and electric, now it's 300, and yet the
Yes.
paycheck has not shifted.
Changed.
Things are
Exactly.
the same, so you feel that sudden change, just as if it's a new day, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? The natural reaction perhaps that would come is panic.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
panic is
yeah,
like, whoa, yeah. But God's mercies are new every morning, and
absolutely, absolutely.
the new situation has arrived to allow you to readjust your position. Whoa. What tips would you give to someone right now who is facing some shifts in their lives that have affected them? I mean, that have affected them, particularly financially. It might have been the loss of a spouse who was the main earner. It might be a divorce and a separation. It might be, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, an income
yeah,
stream that's been shut down because of a new regulation that's come into
yeah,
play.
yeah. Thoughts. Listen, I think people need to understand that life is a cycle of seasons, and every single crash or downturn, as it will, is an opportunity to pivot. We're talking about the global pandemic, but it's freaking 3 years since the onset of it, yeah. And nobody was prepared. Nobody. It started off as a report here and there, and the next minute we are all locked down in our houses and not knowing what's happening. And now, the world has opened up. Some of us opened up a couple months later while the rest of the world was shut down. And, it's a mindset thing. And I think it's a perspective thing. Even using the pandemic as an example, I live in Dubai, and I've been absolutely amazed by how there was no time to think about, oh, we're in a pandemic. It was, okay, how do we keep the people safe? How do we make sure that the people are all safe? And what measures are we putting into place quickly? This is not a democracy, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to be safe, and this is what we're going to do. And then we need life to get back to normal as fast as it can. So what's going to happen? So everything from schools shifting to online learning. I mean, it was quick for us. So by the time the pandemic set off in March, July, folks were already going back to work. Do you know what I mean? And it was, people were already catching flights that were able to take to the skies. Perspective. I think perspective when a situation hits is everything. And so to relate that to my life, or to the lives of anybody else that are kind of looking at their finances and asking themselves, what do I do next? Or I've lost everything in an investment that I thought would materialize, or I've lost a breadwinner. The power to create lies within. The power to create lies within. We've been given such an incredible opportunity to actually leverage our gifts and use them as a tool for multiplication. But I think it begins and ends in our minds. So if you don't think that there's an opportunity for you that you can take advantage of, then already half the battle is lost, right? You have people that have copious numbers of degrees, but they are not earning much, and you have somebody who never went to school and is earning a whole lot. So that's a difference with the mindset, right? I think opportunity, there's always a conversation around the availability of opportunity, but I like to think that we all have an opportunity to actually create opportunities. And I'm one of those that very much lives under the mantra of, I'm not going to wait for somebody to invite me to a table. If I if I see some wood that I can chop down and start creating my own table, that's what I'm going to do. And it takes radical thinking. It takes being an outlier. It takes going against the grain, and and then also, just in the spirit of it all, being content with your incremental progress, because I think sometimes we want to go from 0 to 100 real quick. But there's stages to this thing, and there's levels to this thing. And just to be with every single bit of success saying, you know what, this is cool, and I want to level up. I want to ante up, because this is good, but let's see what we can do next. And it's constantly pushing that whole thing. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I love that. Because I see you a lot on Instagram. And I know that as people look in and they're like, I want that Instagram lifestyle. And I know some of the work that you're doing, which is absolutely phenomenal. Working with conservation, getting to visit the continent, really impacting on the media mountain, and using your gifts, your skills, and talents to something that's making a world of difference that you can be passionate about. And tell us a little bit about how you created that table or that space, or how that came about, because I think growing up, many people sort of think, yeah, go to school, go to university, then get a job at so and so, then I'll rise up the ranks. And often when you're in that zone, you kind of realize that, well, actually, it's not quite doing what I want it to do. um, and and
Absolutely.
and the fear, the limitations that we create for ourselves in our mind, as you spoke, can keep us trapped, can keep us
Yeah.
experiencing less than what we yearn or desire.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me, how did that come about for you? I mean, and I know there's still so much more. I know you're constantly one who's pushing yourself, that statement from glory to glory. You look and you're thinking, whoa, okay, it's done. And it's year one, it's year two. We're celebrating this anniversary, So
Yeah,
tell me, how
yeah.
did that come about? Or what happened?
I think firstly, it's important to have there's one thing to have a goal and a vision, right? And then there's another thing to take those steps towards implementing that. And then in that entire process is the need for alignment. So we go to school, and I was having a conversation with somebody just this evening over dinner, and she asked me, well, how did you get into this? And she's like, I always wonder when people talk to me about their careers and things, and I'm like, wow. And I said, yeah, I'm a perfect example. I actually went to university for pre-med, but I quickly got there, and I think within the first year, my freshman year, I realized, you know what? The people being sick and people, I want to help, but I don't like to see people sick and in pain. I don't like that. So, and that came from having grown up in the hospital a lot. I was seriously asthmatic. So I was constantly on a nebulizer and constantly in the hospitals, coming up. So I immediately was like, yeah, I would love to help, but I think maybe I can help in the areas, the ways, because I don't enjoy going to the doctor. So immediately that was like done. But in my case, the media mountain, I want to say that it found me. And I'll say it this way. I'll take you back just a little bit, just to give context. My first internship when I was at university was actually with CNN. And I wasn't doing any kind of mass comms or media studies or anything. I was actually studying business. And it was like, oh, it's an internship opportunity. And I applied, and I got in. And I happened to be in the newsroom right when September 11 happened. So all of that activity, and this is at CNN HQ, did the internship for a year, kept it moving, got into the workforce. By the time I left the US, I was in real estate, got to Zim, and the real estate market is nothing like what it was in Atlanta at that time. So I had to pivot. So I asked myself at that moment, okay, I'm coming to Zim, and people in Zim, if they live in that house, you and I know, the house that you were born in, 50 years later, everyone is still at that house. The barbecues are still happening at that house, family gatherings at that house. So I was like, okay, so people are not moving property like I was used to, where you're closing 3, 4, 5 houses a month. So real estate's not going to work. And then the economy was what it was. It was the onset of the economy stuff, whatever. So I said, okay, what kind of environment do I want to work in? And I said, I want to be, and I actually remember having this conversation with self. And I said, I don't want to work in any environment that when I open my eyes, it stresses me out. So the first thing I thought of is, okay, I'm here in Zim, I'm here in Harare, and things are tight. Where do I enjoy that doesn't stress me out? And it was like a pool at a hotel, because you get to order your Malawi shanty, and the gardens are lush, and the food is nice and it's served. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I'm looking for. It took me a minute to get there. By the time I landed my first job in hospitality, it was like 8 months plus of searching. Um, but that process gave me that whole vision board. You know, people go to vision board parties and they draw things. For me, it's just always ingrained in my mind. I don't need to go and sit at a table with magazines and cut things. That's an hour of my time I could be using to do something else. I don't need to be attending 6 million vision board party. They're great. If that's your thing, that's great. But I have moments when I actually literally remember being a young person and saying to somebody, you know what? I want to go to Bahrain because I heard Michael Jackson has a house in Bahrain. And then actually standing at a mall in Bahrain and saying, whoa, I said that when I was 4 and here I am, you know. Or I want to go and see Mickey Mouse, and then being at Disney World at 21 and saying, wow, so this is what it is to be at Disney World. So there's power in envisioning, you know, certain things. I remember having debt in the US and saying, I wish I could get out of debt. As I sit here today, I am 100% debt free. Everything that I own is, you know, khalas, I don't owe anybody anything except if I'm paying for my phone bill or whatever. And that in itself is a rewiring of a mind, of your mindset. It's telling yourself that it's possible. Building a magazine was saying, okay, if I cannot find somebody to carry my stories in the UAE, I'm going to create a platform for people to carry their stories. So it's that I literally, if I cannot find a solution, if I need to find a solution, I find a way to then make it into something that becomes a solution just beyond me. So I think, you know, for me, that's the cornerstone of how I got started. You know, I could go on and on, but this conference would run until
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, I hear you. And so you've mentioned vision, you spoke it into being, and you just go for it, which are three things I think anyone out there can really just take away from that. Now, coming to the point of being, say, a woman and negotiating deals, so how do you get the money on the table? Because perhaps traditionally, the business space or the negotiator, so you've created this table, but how do you get your money's worth? How do you get value for what you are doing? How do you speak and say, look, this is what I'm offering, this is what I'm charging for it? Did you have to go over any obstacles with that? Or were you raised in an environment, we speak of generational wealth here, where your mom and dad would empower you together, perhaps with your brothers, to say, hey, guys, this is how we strike a deal. Check this on the contract. Or was it something that you had to learn, perhaps because, you know, historically women shouldn't be getting too involved in talking about money. Yeah, you're a gold digger. The minute
It's
I
okay.
say I'm talking about an understanding money conference, it's, oh, she's a gold digger. You need to be careful of people who talk about money. But yeah, I had a speaker earlier who says, I like money. It allows me to buy things and go where I want to go. So
Uh,
I quickly learned, I want to know how to make it. I want to have financial freedom.
Spot on.
Hmm.
Spot on. Money gives us options, friends. And unfortunately, we grew up with that whole notion of, taboos around the conversation of money. You can't ask nobody how much they get paid. You can't ask nobody how they make their money. I get it. But in so a lot of other cultures across the world, the money conversation is not taboo. As a matter of fact, our Caucasian counterparts train their children on how to save and the stock market at early ages. I don't know anybody like me who is having these conversations about money with their children. Could I do better with my children? Absolutely. I think we all get caught up in the chase of it, that we don't actually take time to train our children, and then we work so hard to give them things, but then sometimes that's actually creating an enabling environment where they don't see the value of work. So you find people, we're living in this microwave life where it's, so TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, it's all very cool and dandy, and it's great comms, and we use it for our communications outputs and objectives and whatever, but we're also telling stories, in various ways. What we don't show people, and everybody knows, is people don't see the grit. People will see Tendai on that podium saying some really powerful message, but they don't realize that maybe she's been out for 38, 36 hours, 48 hours trying to put that script together. People will see, oh, wow, Yvonne, you've got another issue out, but they don't realize how many hours I spent pitching the story, hoping to get a brand to collaborate, going to check out the product, writing about the product. They see, oh wow, she's living her best life. She's at the beach again this weekend. She's at this, but this is work in progress. This is like, by the time you see me posting something from an airport, I've been talking to these people for 6 months. So it's consistency, consistency, consistency. It's gusto, and it's you have got to believe without a shadow of a doubt in what you're doing, and that you actually are bringing something to the table, because a lot of what we do is not brand new. It's really not brand new. It's your little that you add to it. What do you, your little spin on it? What makes this Understanding Money conference better than let me help you understand money from somebody else? Do you know what I mean? It's all a play on words and all of that, but it's the delivery. It's the confidence in the message. It's your social capital. You talked about, we can talk about social capital and the importance of social capital. It's nurturing those relationships. And a lot of us don't have the patience to, when somebody tells you no, for you to then turn back around and come back, or maybe go and work at it so much that next time they come looking for you. Do you know what I mean? So it's a lot. And people say, I see you, girl, you on these flights. Guys, I've been doing this thing and nursing this thing.
Wow.
And sometimes, you miss, you want to do stuff with your family or your kids and you can't. So for me, I think, it's really quite literally envisioning what you want that to look like. And I'm so, so, so grateful and so blessed, because I'm able to, God just gave me this thing where I'm able to now bring together all the things I'm so passionate about. So it literally doesn't feel like work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it doesn't feel like work. I literally jump out of bed like, yeah, today, what are we doing? Yeah, and we just have at it. But yeah, it's work, man. It's not a joke. It's hard work. It's hard work.
Thank you. You spoke that message for me, just sums up. You have to have some passion behind, passion, clarity of what it is you want to accomplish, why it's important, and belief. You've got to believe that it's gonna happen. I'm gonna get there. They've said no today because they didn't like this, but actually, how about if I adjust it or get rid of the things they don't like? Can we still do it?
Yeah. And I mentioned
Yeah.
something before. I talked about pivoting. You have to understand that sometimes you might think it's a great idea, but not everybody else agrees with what you think. Do you know what I'm saying? So you might be like, yeah, I've got this plan and it's going to work like this, like this, like this. And then everyone is like, yeah, well, no, actually, we don't see how you can. So you need to be able to take that criticism and figure out how you're going to turn it into something else. There was this little song they used to play on the radio on one of my favorite radio stations when I was back in the States. And it just talking about like, let your haters be your motivators, because there's gonna be folks that just do not like what you're doing. They don't like what you're about. There's gonna be people that have the wrong perception of who you are. They will see a picture or a quote and think it's and create a whole picture or an image of who you are. And then they meet you and they're like, you are really nice. And you're like, what made you think that I wasn't though? Like, what? And it happens often enough where people tee up a whole perception. So you can't let that stuff tire you. You keep going, because ultimately, guys, I'm trying to make my thing work, so you
That's
keep going.
it. That is it. Awesome. Please tell us a little bit, the last thing about narratives. I get so excited about this because, in the same way that God has graced you to just bring these things out, you act as a midwife, so to speak, in helping others. I've seen your Travel Essence magazine and how you tell people stories, people who are passionate about, hosting guests, doing wildlife, playing music, and you tell their stories. Tell me just a little bit about narratives and how anyone can connect with that work that you do. Anyone who's sitting there thinking, yeah, she's great at it. Perhaps, I'm great at what I'm doing now, but I want to get my story out. I want to get my narrative out. I want to reinvent myself. I've been just known as the person behind the hospital, wearing the dust coat, looking after the patients, but actually I want to to come into this space, perhaps of more training young people. How would you do that for anyone? And tell me a little bit about that.
So narratives PR was basically a product of lots of people sort of seeing my professional walk and coming and saying, can you help me I want to launch this business, I want to start this, and I know that you do this and you do that in PR. So can you help? And part of the core of what I do in the PR space is basically telling brand stories, right? So that's what PR is. And so for me, when I created narratives, I wanted to give our people, the African community, an opportunity and a platform to tell their stories, however that is. So for me, the nature of my work is everything from publishing. We publish magazines. We've got a couple of magazine clients that we put together and package their entire magazines, across Pan Africa. Travel Essence is a narratives PR baby. On occasion, I do work with individuals, but I've sort of that whole pivoting story. I'm heavily involved in my work in the conservation space, which I love dearly, and I feel like there's so many in-depth stories that are not in the forefront of mainstream media. And so for me, narratives is quite literally that platform that I have to help people not only establish a brand presence, but then also tell curated storytelling around the brand story. So anything from social media to launching campaign, to ideation, brand development, into the storytelling component. But my true love with all of it is the actual storytelling component, hence narratives. So if it is editing, publishing, content writing, copywriting, that's really where I put me in a corner with a good view and I can make some magic with words. That's really what I love to do. It's important that we allow ourselves to evolve. And I think a mistake that a lot of people make, especially as entrepreneurs or just people in their professional lives or whatever in general, we think that we have to wear or subscribe to one hat. We have to wear or have a title. And if I've got this title as a financial advisor, as Tendai, then I can't be anything else. And that's not true. You can start having handmade jewelry. You can go to communities and start doing some stuff, basket weaving with them. You can go and have, make an income from speakerships. We always throw around the word multiple streams. What does that even mean? So whether you are in buying a little property and there's little monies of rent coming in here, and you're speaking and there's a little coin coming from there, and you're writing and there's always something you can monetize. There's always something that you can put a dollar value to it. And if you're really good at presenting the thing with full confidence, people will pay you. People will pick up the phone, call you and say, I heard you're the person that I need to speak to. And it's a blessing to find yourself in that space. And the real challenge is to maintain and keep scaling up, because sometimes the demand, if you're good, sometimes the demand becomes a lot. But it's also okay to be able to have a conversation with yourself and say, am I able to do this right now, or do I need to scale back certain things? So you'll never have everything skyrocketing all of the things all of the time. If you're excelling in your profession, it means that sometimes you're not spending enough time at home with the kids, or you don't get to travel to go see the folks as much as you want because you're running with this thing. Seasons and times, and being able to adjust and have that agility, that mental and physical agility to say, okay, this is not working. Let me park it for a little while and see what's happening and then re-up it, or let me dead it. There's nothing wrong with starting again. There's nothing wrong. I get told all the time, Yvonne, so when's the next book coming? I don't know. I don't consider, I call myself a book writer. I've
Yeah.
authored some
Oh,
books.
exactly. Don't expect it from me again. Like you're a
Yeah.
machine.
Now everyone's like, every year, when's the new book? And it's like, nah, for you to birth a book, it comes from in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if I get another book out to y'all, great. But
Yes.
don't, oh, you know. So
Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. And you've brought that full circle to understanding the seasons and the times. There's spring, there's summer, there's winter, there's fall. A new season is a new opportunity for something new. You can always reinvent yourself, reinvent your finances, get a pen, think about it. What is it that you want to see tomorrow? It doesn't matter what's happened in the past, it's gone and dead. Even the victories are gone and dead. Tomorrow's new.
The new. Mm-hmm.
You
Tomorrow
mentioned
is
about
new.
it's a new day, consistency. She had a great reputation last year. You have to up it. Yeah, forget about your reputation last year. Where is it gonna go next?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so thank you so much for just sharing those pearls of wisdom with us during the session. Thank you for availing yourself in your tight schedule. I know you're off jet setting to somewhere nice, and I'm going to find time to join you on one of those
You
trips
know what?
that
We
go
need to make it
safari.
happen. We need to make it happen. When you are good and ready to go, I just call me dates and we'll set it up.
That's
We'll
awesome.
make it happen.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you, everyone.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.